Hello all, this is JC3 from Is This Real? Do you want to start your own podcast? Then look no further than Buzzsprout.com. We here at Green Hour Media use Buzzsprout, and we love the team at Buzzsprout. They are all about helping you succeed. Buzzsprout gets your show listed in every major podcast platform. Follow the link in our show notes to let Buzzsprout know that we sent you. It gets you a $20 paid Amazon gift card if you sign up with a paid plan and helps support our show. Join us and over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout.com to get your message out to the world.
There's a cold wind blowing outside. Tonight, we're going to sit by the campfire with our favorite drink and talk about the exorcism of Emily Rose here on Is This Real?
Welcome all to our Halloween episodes. This is This Real? This is your host JC3. And tonight we start off our Halloween episodes, like I said, and we're talking about the exorcism of Emily Rose, or Anneliese Michel. So tonight in the studio, in the booth, who we have Roadblock as usual to my right. Say hello, Rody.
Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody?
In front of me, across, we have Big Joe, like you heard. Welcome, Dad.
Thank you, and welcome to our program.
And for the first time tonight in October, on our Halloween October episodes, we have Nelson. What's up, Nelson?
Heyo, thank you for having me.
Nelson is Joshua's cousin, little cousin.
Yes.
How old are you, Nelson?
I'm 19.
19 years old, the fresh-faced 19-year-old. All right, so tonight, and he's actually
The future of Is This Real? You can have my spot anytime you want.
one of our biggest fans, by the way. In fact,
Hold on, you're one of our biggest fans. I'll make him a mug.
he sat through the entire 2-hour episode of 9/11.
I did.
And he literally walks around New York in our gear because I've given him a hat and a shirt.
Really?
I do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you remember the first two prototypes of the shirt and I think one of the hats that Joey had? I gave it to him.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So-
That's good. That's what we need.
Tonight, we're doing a little differently. We're going to talk about this story because, we haven't talked about spooky stuff in a while. All right, we went through our monster period, and obviously not a lot of people like that. I mean, not a lot of people in this booth like that. No, Joshua.
That's not true, though. People, the downloads bear that he wasn't as popular.
Well,
but
no, the downloads they're downloadable. I'm saying in the booth. I know you didn't like it.
I don't like stuff like that. But everybody's tastes are different. I happen to, it has to be discussed because that's what we do here. But I do think that possessions and real life ghost stories and then government conspiracies and stuff like that. I think that for me, it's got more meat on a bone. But we all have different likes.
Yashua,
Yes.
I know you didn't prefer it as much, right?
Yeah, I was okay with some of it. Some of the topics we chose were, you can actually have some discussions on. And other ones were like, eh.
I agree. I'm in that same boat. As a listener, Sita, how did you feel?
So I did enjoy the season quite well with me personally, the Skinwalker Ranch episodes. I think those were the highlights of the season overall.
Oh yeah, those are our biggest ones because that one has a lot of meat on it. Like we sunk our teeth into that. But we're gonna like we did last Halloween, and if you remember, we started off. I think it was with the Conjuring universe. We talked about movie universes as a precursor to kind of multimedia mafia.
Yeah.
But we still had Green Hour podcast at the time, and I forgot what we were talking about in Green Hour podcast around Halloween. But we took a break because before that, this is before Roadblock joined. This is before Mr. West joined.
The dark days before.
Yes. And that's the Conjuring universe was Roadblock's first episode. Mm-hmm. And I believe the week before that, it was the same thing. It was like Conjuring Universe Part 1 was Wes, and the Conjuring Universe Part 2 was Joshua.
Was that the first one all together? The first one we all did together, wasn't that Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's when all four.
Yeah, we literally watched the movie and then came downstairs and talked about it.
Yeah, okay.
And that was like and that was, again, part of our Halloween episodes. We talked about the Conjuring universe, talked about Rosemary's Baby.
So actually, not to cut you off, but the four of us have been together now for a year.
Yes. Close to a year.
I think we should give ourselves a round of applause.
Absolutely.
Okay, there we go.
So the four of us, at the end of this month, will be a year in the booth together.
That's great. That's fantastic.
So we're going to kick off another Halloween spooky month with another. It was a movie. The Exorcism of Emily Rose was a movie, but there is a story behind that. It was based on a true story.
Right.
And we will get into that story right now. So, the Exorcism of Emily Rose is actually Anneliese Michel. She grew up devoutly Catholic in Bavaria, West Germany in the 1960s, where she attended Mass twice a week. When Anneliese was 16, she suddenly blacked out at school and began walking around dazed. Though Anneliese did not remember this event, her friends and family said that she was in a trance-like state. Now, again, that is very common, as I've read through, these exorcisms, to where people blank out and they don't remember anything that they do. That seems to be a common thread throughout a lot of exorcisms. I don't know if you've read a lot of exorcisms, Joshua.
No, I can't say that I have. The only thing I saw because of this case was that in high school when she had that incident and where she was in a trance state, I believe it was around the same time the doctors that she was being brought to diagnosed her with epilepsy. Mm-hmm. So that could have possibly played a part into it, because I know there are some people, like I've known personally, when it comes to like epilepsy, they don't actually remember when things happen. So
I know. What about? I know you, Dad. You've read a lot about exorcisms.
Well, what's the question?
That seems to be a common thread where the victim of the exorcism doesn't remember certain points, and people telling them,
right?
Like, this is what the fuck you did.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that, again, there's certain different types of exorcisms or possessions, but however, the common thread running through them is basically
possession's the word, not exorcism.
Right, possession. Sorry, is basically the demonic force enters the body, takes over the free will of the person, and then takes over the mind, therefore acting as if that the demonic entity is the person. Now, sometimes you can the possessed person can think of what's going on, because a lot of exorcism cases. Now again, we're going to use The Exorcist. Everybody's seen the movie. The Exorcist happened where there was a few exorcisms, but the girl was basically possessed all through the thing. Even on where she wasn't being thrown around by the priest or whatever, she was still possessed. That is a little far. That's a little stretch, because there's a lot of times there's 8 or 9, 10, 20 exorcisms on one person. They come out of the exorcism and they know why they're there. They know why they're going to the church. They know why they're going, or why the priest is coming to them. So they're aware of what's going on. But it's when the priest starts the exorcism and he provokes the demon or whatever it is, and then if it is a true case of possession, then the possessed person will it'll show an aversion to religious objects. It'll speak in tongues. It'll have knowledge of something it shouldn't have knowledge of. It'll speak in reverse.
Yeah. If you have a person speaking Latin in reverse, you have a giant problem.
And you see, and that's why the Catholic Church covers all the bases. They will bring in. I mean, you can't just walk into a bishop and go, "Look, little Billy's possessed over there. I need you to go to some holy water and dab him." It doesn't work like that. They're gonna send their exorcist, but they're also going to send a doctor, a psychologist, because they want to make sure that there are signs of possession and not signs of mental, a mental strain or a mental disorder. Because in our country, as we can see, there are 1,000 different mental disorders, and but none of the mental disorders will, it surpasses that when the person starts speaking in tongues, and when I say tongues, a foreign language that they have no knowledge of, or of future events or events that are taking place where they should not have the knowledge of.
Well, again,
or if they're levitating furniture, then you got a problem.
Like I said, if they're speaking Latin is basically a dead language. Nobody speaks Latin anymore. There's derivatives of Latin, Italian, Spanish. There's derivatives of it, but nobody speaks fluent Latin anymore. Mm-hmm. And if they're speaking Latin, backwards, I don't care what the doctor says. That person has a demon in them. That person is going to get hit.
Be careful when you say demon.
Demon, devil.
Well, there's a difference.
I know.
And if you let me explain, I'll tell you what the difference is.
Oh.
A demon is a fallen angel. So is a devil. But a devil is a little higher, is a hierarchy. Like in heaven, you have Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Michael. Okay? One is higher than the other, but they're both archangels. In the demonic realm, you have demons, some more powerful than others. If you have a demonic possession where there's fire, well, then you got a higher level demon. If you have something where you just hear knocks on the walls or whatever, it's maybe not that high. But but when you come to a possession of a devil is completely different. It's the hierarchy. It's the archangel of the dark, of satanic angels, and that's basically what it comes down to. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm possessed by the devil." Very rarely is anybody possessed by the devil. And the devil, when they say devil, I really think they mean Satan.
Lucifer.
Okay,
it would be Lucifer,
whatever. I mean, that's very rarely happened.
See,
very
that's funny.
Rarely ever happened.
I know we're completely getting off topic.
Well, you got a lot. You're going to have to put that out there for this
because. But I'll get more into the story after this statement. I just want to say a lot of people sit there and I don't think Lucifer possesses. I've never heard someone come across and say, well, or at least any of the exorcisms I've read about where that person or that possessed person said that they are Lucifer.
I've heard of possessions of that. I've read of them. Now, a truer story, I don't know. I don't know if it's true or false, but I have read where the possessed person was claiming to be. But again, in part of the exorcism
I'm saying by
ritual,
the priest. Like the priest said, "I what is your name, demon?"
Right.
Well,
that's why he asks. Because the demon cannot lie. The demon cannot lie when it comes to the name. It has to, by the authority of God, it has to give the name. That's part of the, And then when it gives the name, at that point, you're making headway in the exorcism, because then the priest, the exorcist, then now knows what he's dealing with.
Okay, so a demon cannot lie?
Not in an exorcism, because the demon basically is not about the name.
Jesus.
Just like, and I'll give you another one, you might not believe me. Just like on Christmas, a person can't be possessed.
For realsies?
For real.
Really?
And these are things that there are certain rules that God doesn't
Fuck
stretch.
around with.
Okay. And high holy days are a few of them. Now, if I'm wrong, then somebody, let us know that I'm wrong. But as far as I know, on high holy days, all demonic activity is going to stop in that situation. So there are rules that the demons have to follow. If there are rules, what I'm saying is that they're not making them out to be, I'm going to drive 50 miles an hour. No, they're demons, but you know what? They know their limitations as far as messing with a higher power.
All right, let's get back into the Anneliese story. So a year later, Anneliese Michel experienced a similar occurrence where she woke up in a trance and pissed her bed. Her body also went through a series of convulsions, causing her body to shake uncontrollably. But what happened next was even more disturbing. After the second time, Anneliese visited a neurologist who diagnosed her with temporal lobe epilepsy, a disorder that causes seizures, loss of memory, and experiencing visual and audio hallucinations, which can happen. Temporal lobe epilepsy can also cause Geschwin syndrome, a disorder marked by religiosity. I believe that's called. I believe that's the word.
I think I heard a different term called religious iconography. I believe that was one of the other terms.
Those things. After her diagnosis, Anneliese began taking medication for her epilepsy and enrolled in the University of Würzburg in 1973. However, the drugs she was given failed to help her, and as the year progressed, her condition began to deteriorate. Though she was still taking her medication, Anneliese began to believe that she was possessed by a demon and that she needed to find a solution outside of medicine. She began to see the face of the devil wherever she went and said she heard demons whispering in her ears. When she heard demons telling her she was damned and would rot in hell while she was praying, she concluded that the devil must be possessing her. So the devil is now possessing Anneliese Michel. So we will get more on with the story as we get back from our first break.
Hey, New Jersey and Pennsylvania. If you need a professional photographer, then we here at Green Arrow Media recommend Captured Moments by Danielle. Professional headshots, school pictures, family, holiday vacations, you name it, she can shoot it. She even does engagement photos as well as boudoir shots for both women and couples. So if you're located in New Jersey or Pennsylvania and you're looking for a professional photographer, remember to contact Captured Moments by Danielle at www.capturedmomentsbydanielle.com.
And welcome back as we continue the story of Anneliese Michel. So, Sita, you brought up an interesting point. You said there was a third hospitalization.
Yeah, so from what I was reading, right, there was a third hospitalization that happened, and from the website I'm reading from is saying that that's when she started seeing double faces.
Okay, all right. So that's we fill in a little gap here because they do skip around with the story I'm reading at least.
All right.
That's everywhere, even with some of the stuff I read.
Yeah,
just like the epilepsy stuff that it was mentioned before, like the third time she was actually hospitalized, and then that's when she was officially diagnosed or something like that. Like, it was really weird. But just to correct myself from before, I think you were trying to say a word.
Yes, I was.
It was stated that she had developed neurosis related to religious iconography.
Hyper religiosity. I believe that's pronounced hyper religiosity. This one right here.
Basically, religious brainwashing, if you ask me.
Yes.
But okay.
All right, so back on with the story. Anneliese sought out priests to help her with her demonic possession, but all the clergy she approached rejected her request, saying that she should seek medical help and that they needed the permission of a bishop anyway. By the way, that is true. You can't just go to a regular church and be like, I think someone's possessed.
No, you can't.
They have to go to the bishop of the diocese, and then that has to go to some of like the northeastern, or like, let's say.
No, the bishop has the authority. Every parish, most every diocese has a trained exorcist. Maybe some more than one. New York City has at least 5. Okay, these are trained people.
It's like Senate seats.
And their main thing is to study and to get involved and try to decipher if it's a true case or not. And if it is, then, what's the next course of action? So when you do, you can go to the thing. And I'm going to tell you right now, you can go to a bishop, unless you go in there with something really, really at least worthy of them to investigate. They're going to blow you off because they don't want to get sued. They don't want to go into a situation where somebody gets killed.
Well, they also don't want the exposure of something like that.
Well, they don't, because it's negative exposure. It's all negative exposure. Now,
I thought you had to get the permission from the Vatican for doing stuff like that.
No, the bishop gives the permission because the bishop runs the diocese. Now, if it comes down to where, I guess the bishop can actually look to his higher ups to get their input. Of course, I mean these guys work together, and the bishop may be a little queasy. It's like, I don't want to make that call, but again, sooner or later somebody's going to have to look into it, and if it is a true case of possession or a true case of mental illness, then they will somehow figure it out. But it's going to take a lot of convincing.
So you can't be a douchebag and just run into a church and be like, "Hail Satan," and expect to get an
Well, you could, and you'll look dumb, and the people will turn around and laugh at you. But
what?
That's something you would do.
That's why I said it.
You're an asshole. Anywho, at this point, Anneliese's delusions had become extreme. Believing she was possessed, She ripped the clothes off her body, compulsively performed up to 400 squats a day, crawled under a table, and barked like a dog for 2 straight days. She also ate spiders and coal, bit the head off a dead bird, and licked her own urine from the floor. Okay, first of all...
Whoa, wait a
Hold
minute.
on. Okay, so 2 of those things I know Ozzy Osbourne did just regularly.
I read none of what you just said in any version of the story when I looked it up. What?
Hold on. Wait a minute.
There was no mention of squats, naked, crawling around like a dog. There was nothing.
What site are you on, Joe? Because I'm on medium.com.
It's called allthat'sinteresting.com.
Okay, on what I'm on, they discovered in her addition to her anti-religious behavior, she also was harming herself, trying to harm others, drinking her own urine, eating insects, barking like a dog, and had once bitten the head off a dead bird.
Well, see, like, again, that's... If 90% of what I said was true, that's going around different stories. Like, 400 squats a day, I mean, she
also said that she was possessed by Hitler, Lucifer, Judas, Nero, Cain, and Fleischmann.
Hitler?
Yeah, I saw that too. The things I was watching.
At that point,
did she attack a bunch of Jews?
No.
Yeah, Judas, Hitler. Satan,
no, I'm saying, did she attack a bunch of Jews if she was possessed by Hitler?
Okay.
Continue with the story.
Okay. Finally, she and her mother found a priest, Ernest Alt, who believed in her possession. He stated that she didn't look like an epileptic. Wow. In later court documents, Anneliese wrote to Alt, "I am nothing. Everything about me is vanity. What should I do? I have to improve. You pray for me." And also once told him, "I want to suffer for other people, but this is so cruel." Alt petitioned the local bishop, Bishop Joseph Stengel, who eventually approved the request and granted a local priest, Arnold Renz, permission to perform an exorcism, but ordered that it be carried out in total secret. So exorcisms have existed in various cultures and religions for millennia. But the practice became popular in the Catholic Church in the 1500s with priests who would use the Latin phrase vade retro Satana, go back Satan, to expel demons from their mortal hosts. The practice of Catholic exorcism was codified in the Rituale Romanum, a book of Christian practices assembled in the 16th century. So by the 1600s, exorcisms were very rare among Catholics, but a rise in movies and books like The Exorcist in the early 1970s caused a renewed interest in the practice. Over the next 10 months, following the bishop's approval of Anneliese's exorcism, Alton Renz conducted 67 exorcisms, lasting up to 4 hours on the young woman. Through these sessions, Anneliese revealed that she believed that she was possessed by 6 demons: Lucifer, Cain, Judas Iscariot,
Iscariot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Judas,
Adolf Hitler,
Last Supper.
Nero, and Fleischmann, a disgraced priest.
Okay, Fleischmann basically was I think he was a priest or something that was being thrown out of the church for whatever reason. I had read.
Joshua, look that up. Fleischmann.
I saw it. He was a fucked up individual who did some shit.
A German priest who had been expelled from the church for attempted murder.
Yes.
Now, I just want to interject something here. I said something and then you had read up on it about be claiming who you are, to who you're possessed by. You got to understand something. In the middle of an exorcism, the demonic, I'm going to use that term, will do its best to throw you off. It'll say things, it'll do things. Now, think back to The Exorcist. We've all seen it. The one scene in The Exorcist where he takes out the holy water and he sprinkles it on her and makes a sign of the cross. And she freaks out like it burns. And then later on he went and he told the mother it was ordinary tap water. That's not going to do good for the church to do an exorcism because it doesn't make sense. But in the long run, it makes more sense. Because when she's claiming that she's possessed by Hitler, Lucifer, Nero, Cain, Fleischmann, whatever, it would make the church go, maybe she is crazy because you can't be possessed by them. they're not demons.
Yeah.
And that also would hinder a case for demonic exorcism.
Well, I mean,
and that's what the job of the demonic is, to throw you off, to throw everyone off. But
yeah, but it was also that she was saying it. It's
Right.
not like they were doing the exorcisms and
the demon was saying
the
it.
demon was
No, I
saying
get it.
that what they were. So
Well, I
that's
mean, like,
kind of like the
I mean,
breaking.
well, we
If-
don't know. Again,
if
we don't know
they're
what
that-
influence the demonic had on her in her time that she wasn't
But,
being exorcised.
like, if they're that-
exercised, is that a word? Exercise?
I believe.
Exercised. Yes.
Exercised?
Yeah, that's a word.
Yeah.
That's you
I never heard of that.
exercise
She
the
was
demon.
excellent. Maybe she got Richard Simmons in there. Maybe. I don't know.
But I mean, okay, Lucifer again. There's no proof that anybody has ever been possessed by Lucifer himself or itself, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Remember, we have to be inclusive these days. Cain, we all know the story of Cain and Abel. Again, you could sit there and say that was a fable, and sit there and say that was just to teach everybody about how to love a brother, shit like that, blah blah blah. But in the religious world, Catholic religion, they do believe that Judas, he has to be some type of a demon. He's been dead that long.
A demon.
It has to be some type of bad
Not
soul.
a demon. A demon. Oh my God. A
If
demon
it was
is.
a living person, they would become a ghost or a spirit, not a demon.
They would become.
It doesn't make sense.
They could go. They would be able to go to like Hitler. Right now, Hitler's burning in hell.
Yeah, you don't think
You know,
he's some type
or
of
maybe
ranking?
God, or maybe God atoned him of his sins and he's in heaven. Whatever. We don't know. However,
If Hitler's in heaven, I have a major problem.
well, again, I'm not going to. That's another debate for another show or another story, another country, whatever. However,
Another country.
a human living being is never going to become a demon. It's not like something. It's not like you
it's
go
an
down and you
evil
pass
spirit.
a course.
It's an evil spirit.
It's a person who has evil leanings, but it's not it's not an evil. They have limitations. They once walked the earth. They are human beings.
So you don't believe you can be possessed by an evil spirit?
No, I don't at all. No, sorry.
But there are so if you, I believe the the Conjuring 2. That was an evil spirit that was doing that. They didn't possess anybody.
Okay,
well,
that
no,
was-
no, they
You're talking
did.
about the first one, and that was Bathsheba.
No, I'm talking about the Conjuring 2, where it was the old man. The old man wasn't a demon. He once lived.
The old man didn't possess anybody.
He did possess
No,
her.
if
he
you-
talked through the girl.
That was
How
a
do-
demon being portrayed as an old
Exactly.
man.
The demon in that movie was Valak.
No, I'm talking about the real story. The real Valak has nothing to do with the real story.
Okay, the story of the old man didn't-
Enfield, I believe it was, wasn't it?
in England.
Yeah.
That was the demon was throwing everybody off by using the old man in certain situations. Again, the demonic can trap a spirit in a place. You got a lot of times where the demonic is doing their thing, and there's human spirits there that are made to do their will. They're made to do things for them, and they have to listen to them because what else are they going to do? These things can hurt them. I know it sounds stupid, but the human
they can't
spirits
kill
have
'em.
limitations. No, but they can fucking torture them, and they can. You're going to hell. You're being tortured. You're not going to hell for a fucking social club.
Well, if you're going to hell, that means you did something to go to hell.
Exactly.
For.
So maybe this spirit, again, in the movie, this guy says, "This is my house." The spirit was in the house. Didn't want to leave the house. Okay. But in the movie, they brought in Valak to make it look like that. But the movie
That
was
would fit
basically
the universe. I know.
basically was brought in because there was something there. If in fact the story is true, we haven't touched on that. I don't know, but the demon actually used the old man to its advantage, which it does. You are dealing with something that's extremely intelligent and has the knowledge of the ages. It can tell you what went on thousands and thousands by the beginning of time. Demons fell from heaven. Heaven didn't start in 1968. So they have the knowledge of everything. And that's just basically what it comes down to. So no, I do not believe that humans, Hitler and Judas and Nero and Kate. No, I don't believe that at all. I don't, because they don't have the authority to do that. And the authority comes from God.
We'll be back after a quick break. Hey, Ryan. Hi, this is Sarah Palin.
Ryan Donald Trump Jr.
Hogs to win seal. Hey, everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics.
I mean, I don't know. I have a different belief because talking about someone like Judas who betrayed Jesus Christ himself, in that case, Lucifer would be so proud of that person.
No,
for betraying Jesus Christ and hurt.
We're going to go off on a religious tangent here. Do you know what Lucifer is all about?
Yeah.
Lucifer wants to destroy the souls that are sent to it, because the souls represent God, who he detests.
Yeah.
And if Lucifer can destroy a soul, then he thinks he's getting over on God because he desecrated one of God's creatures.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. It isn't that he has you're in a merit badge. These aren't Boy Scouts we're dealing here.
What I meant
Not
was,
proud. They don't have there's no pride in hell.
how do you know?
Because I'm telling you, this is exactly what it is. If you believe in your religion and common sense, it'll tell you that, no, this is not the way it's working.
First of all of this is beyond common sense.
Okay.
There is no sitting there saying, yeah, okay, Ghost did this, Ghost did that. No. There's no common sense here. This is all belief system, where you could have someone like Joshua who is sitting there saying probably none of this matters. I mean, am I wrong?
No.
Where he's sitting there like, oh, these two assholes are arguing over religious beliefs. Don't they know none of it exists?
And
I can
that's
still put myself in your shoes. Remember, I wasn't atheist all my fucking life. Okay,
again,
Joshua
Joshua
became one at a certain point.
Right, Joshua has his own belief system, and that if that works for Joshua, that's fine. I have a different belief system.
Oh, yeah. This all goes into what you believe. That's what I'm saying. This common sense, you have to throw common sense out the window, because anybody with common sense will sit there and go, okay, she's having a mental issue, and you could sit there and say, oh, it's a mental issue.
Until you look into it deeply and realize that the person isn't going to talk in reverse.
I'll just finish this last sentence and we'll go to our second break. Okay. So the last sentence says, all these spirits would jostle for power of Anneliese's body and would communicate from her mouth with a low growl. And there is real audio tapes from this case.
Yes, there is.
I don't want to put them into the thing.
Yeah, please don't.
I don't know if we have the right to do that.
No, we don't.
So what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about the death of Anneliese Michel after we get back from our second break. We'll be right back. Are you looking for a vinyl LP or cassette tape? 45 RPM? If so, you've come to the right place. Golden Spins. We have thousands of titles in stock and ready to ship. Call us at 862-336-2275 or go to our store at discogs.com/seller/goldenspins/profile. We can find whatever you may need. We proudly accept PayPal and every major credit card. And welcome back. So we're going to continue this episode, and we're going to find out how everyone happened. Anneliese died, and because she did die.
Thanks for the spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So the demons argued with each other. Apparently, this is according to this website now. Again, we weren't there. We don't know. But the demons argued with each other, with Hitler saying people are stupid as pigs. They think it's all over after death. It goes on. And Judas saying Hitler was nothing but a big mouth who had no real say in hell. What the fuck am I reading?
Yeah, you got to get to another website. That doesn't make any sense.
Throughout these sessions, Anneliese would frequently talk about dying to atone for the wayward youth of the day and the apostate priests of the modern church. And what does that mean?
priests that are going rogue, that are going...
The kid diddling?
How do I put this gently? Fucking little boys.
Kid diddling, that's what I was saying.
I think Joey's was a little bit more nice.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, he's struggling with English over there. I'm just trying to help.
I did. Okay, first of all, I've never seen that word before, so...
Apostate.
Excuse me. Yeah, I've never seen that word before in my life.
Okay.
So she broke the bones and ripped the tendons in her knee from continually kneeling in prayer. How? That had to hurt. Over these 10 months, Anneliese was frequently restrained so the priest could conduct the exorcism rites. She slowly stopped eating, and she eventually died of malnutrition and dehydration on July 1st, 1976. She was just 23 years old. After her death, Anneliese's story became a national sensation in Germany after her parents and the two priests who conducted the exorcism were charged with negligent homicide. They came before the court and even used a recording of the exorcism to try and justify their actions. The two priests were found guilty of manslaughter resulting from negligence and were sentenced to 6 months in jail, which was later suspended, and 3 years of probation. The parents were exempted from any punishment as they had suffered enough, a criteria for sentencing in German law. Decades after the trial, the famous horror movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose was released in 2005. Loosely based on Anneliese's story, the movie follows a lawyer, played by Laura Linney, who takes on a negligent homicide case involving a priest who allegedly performed a deadly exorcism on a young woman. Set in America in the modern day, the film was both praised and panned by critics who for its depiction of the sensational court case that followed the death of the character Emily Rose. Although much of the movie focuses on courtroom drama and debate, there are plenty of scary flashbacks that depict the events leading up to Emily Rose's exorcism and her untimely death at age 19. Perhaps one of the most memorable scenes from the film is a flashback of Emily Rose screaming the names of all her demons to her priest. While possessed, she shouts out names like Judas, Cain, and most chillingly, Lucifer, the devil in the flesh. While reviews of Emily Rose were decisively mixed, the film did pick up a couple awards, including MTV Movie Award for Best Frightened Performance by Jennifer Carpenter, who played Emily Rose. I don't have on this website, though. You guys said that the priest came to an untimely death, I believe, right?
No, they went to jail.
Yeah. You're talking about then who else died then? Anybody else die or no?
Not that I know of.
Yeah,
I mean,
not that I know.
later in life, naturally, the parents, and then I think something with the priests, but I don't think it was directly related to the case whatsoever.
Oh, so the parents came on like they didn't get no jail time or nothing.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hello, nerds. Come listen to the History Nerds United podcast, and let's make history fun again. We interview today's best authors, whether they are established Pulitzer Prize winners or someone debuting their first book. Let us show you that history is not a boring class you took in high school, but a place where the best stories come from. And we don't just cover history. We also love to chat about true crime, biographies, memoirs, and so much more. So head on over to History Nerds United and let us introduce you to your new favorite book and learn the story behind the story.
History Nerds United.
I thought they did. I read that everyone went to jail, at least at the very minimum for a year.
On this one, they say no.
Like I said, could be wrong, and you look at different sources. But can we talk for a minute?
Yeah.
67 fucking exorcisms in the span of 11 months.
Yeah, it happens.
At times, there was 2 times in a week.
That's a lot.
It happens. And
She was a small girl. How the fuck did she live through that to begin with?
It's a good question.
Well, when you have 6 spirits living in you.
It don't matter. She withered away within those months. Like, I'm surprised.
Yeah, but
she had any sound mind whatsoever to even continue.
She's withering away as the human flesh, yes, but the demons, if you want to say it that way, inside of her were keeping the body pumping.
Here, I'm gonna go ahead and answer that question at the end when you ask everybody if they believe it. If you ask me that question right now, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I take this.
All right. We didn't get to that part yet.
Okay, then I'll wait.
But I don't know. Do you have anything else to add, Joshua?
No, there's really not much to add here.
There's really not. It's the whole like 67 exorcisms in a year. Really, is just stuck in my head.
You were going to say orgasms, weren't you?
I have no idea why I can't speak.
67 orgasms. I do that in just 1 week. What are you talking about?
Actually, fun fact for guys: after 45, you could die. Just saying. Throwing that out
in
there.
1 day or 1 week?
In 1 day. That's a level cap, apparently. Anyway.
Have you figured that out?
No, I read articles
You
on
have
it.
very bored Saturdays, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Anyway, 67 fucking... I can't even picture someone being able to survive after one of those. Because if they are really as bad as they're depicted in movies...
Well, no.
I mean, that's what... I'm going based off of...
Yeah.
Because obviously none of us have ever seen one in the flesh.
Well,
Come on.
It's not that you've seen it in the flesh, but you have recordings, and there are some type of videotapes here and there about exorcisms. Like, there was a documentary. I forgot which documentary it was, but they did a live not a live one, but they did an exorcism, recorded it for the documentary. Do you remember which one that was, Dad?
Yeah, it was Father Amor.
Yeah, Father Amor.
And Amor. It's on Netflix, I believe. Now, these are very taxing situations. Generally, you have older priests that are involved in this because they're more pious than they have the knowledge.
Yeah, wisdom.
Okay, the wisdom.
Yeah, the experience, stuff like that, yeah.
Now, having said that, it depends on the frailty of the individual being possessed. If you have some, like her, she was skinny. She was, and...
Yeah, she was already small to begin with. That's what I'm saying. It blows my mind that she survived 67.
How I'm taking this whole thing and just reading it and whatever... there's a lot here that's going on. Number one, it seems to me like she was so pious and so devout that she took it upon herself to try to be like Jesus and suffer and thought that it was the best thing to do to suffer, for the sins of others, or just not to be happy. In other words, she wanted to take on and show God, look, I'm whatever, and I'm trying to say this. She basically became, I'm drawing a blank here.
Are you trying to say that she tried to make herself into a prophet?
No, but along them lines, she tried to suffer because she wanted to show how pious she was. Yeah. Okay, and in that, maybe somewhere in that. She had mental illness. She had epilepsy.
Well, she was diagnosed with epilepsy.
Right. So, you couple that with the fact that she, they just knelt in prayer and broke her arms or broke her knees or whatever.
Both of her knees.
Okay. That takes a lot of kneeling. That's not, that's not happening in a
And
day.
she continued to kneel after she...
And she suffered because she decided in her mind that suffering was the way to honor God. For whatever reason, some people are like that. Opus Dei. I mean, they beat the shit out of themselves with stuff to show their allegiance with the Lord. So yeah, I look at it one part of it that way, but also look at the part of the other way where she says she's possessed by this one, that one, everything. That's clear signs of demonic possession in my eyes, because that's trying to throw the exorcist off. And that's a tactic that the demonic use. Now, maybe not. There's really no proof either way here.
I mean, we're going to talk about this next week because next week's episode is about the movie The Exorcism, and I forgot the name of
real life case.
The real life case of The Exorcist.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to give that one away, but there's.
But no, but I'm saying
makes this one look like it's Disney.
Well, what I'm saying is, it's if you remember in the movie, we'll talk more about this, but it goes into this in the movie. She said she talked like the mother, the demon talked like the mother to the priest. It goes in the same type of vein that they will try and do something to completely throw everybody off.
That's what they do. That's what they do. Demonic lie all the time, except when they're forced into a corner and they have to give their name, they can't lie.
Yeah. So
but then it also weakens them at that point, because then the exorcist knows what demon he's dealing with, and then he can go accordingly.
Yes. So other than that, like I said, you have the movie, which I've actually never seen the movie. I don't know if you guys have. I know Dad.
I've seen it a long time ago. And one other point I want to touch here before we end this episode is, it's very important to understand that if you're going to be involved in something like this, and you're going to be a priest, and the parents, that this could happen, and that's why the church covers its own butt, because it wants to make sure that they're not going to get lawsuits, they're not going to get thrown in prison, they're not going to get sued. They want no part of that. Okay, so this is a very a telling story, because if she wasn't possessed, then the parents tried to do something and they failed, and they tried in a good way, I guess. I'm all over the place tonight, but I believe that
she also died at 23 years old.
You're right, but they also there's another movie out there, and it was actually it was a sequel to the Amityville Horror. It was called The Possession. In that movie
sucked.
In that movie, the kid, just like in the real story, he killed his family and whatever.
Is that the one where he tried to fuck his sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the movie, the priest, Greg Olson, wanted the kid to claim demonic possession in court, and he tried that, and it was thrown out, because demonic possession in the court of law is not a defense, and that's why you don't ever see it, because you can't prove it one way or another. So the thing is, the church wants nothing to do with that, and in this case, the girl died, the parents were thrown in jail, the priests were thrown in jail.
The parents were not thrown in jail.
The parents got 6 months.
This website said they did not.
Well, hold on. Let me just make sure that
I have the priests who were thrown in jail.
All right, Joseph and Anna Michel, Father Rentz, and Pastor Alt were found guilty of negligent homicide. The sentence was actually heavier than what the prosecution originally asked for. All 4 of them were sentenced to 6 months in jail, 3 of probation, and a fine. That's all it says here.
Like I said, I have the parents were exempt from any punishment, as they had suffered enough. A criteria for sentencing in German law.
Okay, well, it doesn't say it here, so I mean, I'll take your word for it at this point, because again, we weren't there.
Websites.
Yeah, I mean, there's other factors too. There was things stated that she refused any medical treatment after a while. She stopped. They wanted her to stop taking medication. She did, so that might have expedited probably the process.
Stopped eating too.
She gave up, stopped eating, and all that type of stuff. So it's there's a lot to it. I mean, obviously, whatever Joey's reading has not as much details, but they elaborate on details I've never even heard of, like the 400 squats while naked.
Squats.
Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, that's a little strange.
Anyway,
her leg game was incredible.
Just end it, Joey.
All right, so we're gonna go. Okay, so we're gonna. The question for this episode is whether you believe that Anneliese Michel was possessed either by one demon or by 6 spirits. So I'll start with you, Joshua. What do you believe? What is your thoughts on this case?
It's actually hard for me to make a decision of what it is I believe, at least in this instance, because I've read so much about the epilepsy, the alleged mental illnesses she could have had. She actually had some medications.
All right, real quick, I do, because this is probably our first episode we're talking about it with you, as the resident atheist in the booth.
Yes.
Do you believe in possessions? Do you believe in demons, evil spirits, stuff like that?
No.
So you can sit there and say that you believe that this could be just mental illness.
That's why it's hard for me to make a decision. I would base it off of all of that stuff. The only reason why I can't sit there and give you a definitive yes or no, even though part of me will tell you no right off the bat, is the audio recordings, which is what I was doing earlier before we started. The audio recordings from my background in history, it's really hard to recreate any of those that you hear.
Yeah, it's whenever. That's one thing I always tell. At least people sit there, oh come on, those are all fake.
Yeah,
I'm like, at the time you're talking about what, 1970 something? I think it was 68.
Yeah, 60s. You can't.
There's no. There's no.
If those audio tapes are authentic, they weren't altered in any way by today's technology. It actually is kind of frightening to hear that stuff, because half the time you can't make out what they're saying, because obviously if you don't know like Latin or whatever the case is, you're not going to know what the hell they're saying.
Right.
But just the whole echoey being able to alter your voice and keep it in that type of a straining situation, no normal person could do. So you would have to think that, okay, well, something is happening that is causing this person to speak in tongues like that. So I can't sit there and say, yes, I believe completely. I can believe that there's something fucking with somebody, in the words of Eric, who's not here tonight. So I can't really give a definitive answer because
your
I'm
first time
actually conflicted.
And this will be your first time in a hot minute that you're on the fence.
Yeah.
Because you haven't been on the fence in like 5-6 episodes.
Actually, it does my heart good that he's on the fence. It does. Because basically at that point, then somewhere along the line, deep down in that psychosis of yours, you have thought that maybe it's a possibility.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I can't give you a definitive
definition,
yes or no.
Joshua, and this is where the adopted father part of me is coming in. If you believe that this partially could happen or might slightly happen in some way, then by definition, you are not an atheist. You are agnostic. You are someone who has a lot of doubt, and there's a lot of doubt out there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But you're also giving it the possibility. And by you doing that, I don't think you're a true atheist in the word. I think you're agnostic, where you know something went on, but I'm not sure it's what people think.
And you're also using the proof, because you could sit there again. You sit.
I'm going to party tonight, because to me that was the best part of this whole show.
You could sit there and talk about the medical side of it and stuff like that. But when
that's what I'm saying. The realist in me, the atheist in me,
off, Father.
Sees all the medical issues that she had.
And then the audio man in you says, "Wait a fucking minute."
Yeah, exactly, because of the audio clips. But that's also not to say that because of the time period, people didn't know about mental health issues. Medication for stuff like that is brand spanking fucking new. None of that shit was heard of back then.
Yeah.
And I forgot to write it down. I really did want to, but I didn't get a chance to. One of the videos I was watching mentioned a specific medicine that she was on. And it was like a yellow box. It had like blue lettering on it or whatever. And it said that this was the first medicine that she was taking. Who knows if that could have had some kind of weirdly backhanded adverse reaction to her, depending on what her situation was.
Well, at that point, you would have to sit there and go through the history of that medicine and figure if they had any type of backlash or effects on anybody else.
I mean, unless
you would
you're
really
sit
have to
there, yeah, exactly. Unless you're going to sit there and go through all that homework, which I'll be honest, I'm not going to. It's hard for me to give a definitive answer at that point.
All right,
this is a tough case. You're absolutely right,
Yeah.
and I imagine it'd be tougher coming from your perspective.
Yeah,
but for someone who has read I've been reading a lot on it and studying this stuff. It's very, very difficult because there's signs on both sides here.
Yeah,
I think there was definitely the mental illness definitely played into this.
Yeah,
the religious nitwitnism. I call it nitwitnism. That's my word. Okay.
Religious indoctrination.
We will go to Cito. Your first. Do you believe? Is it real?
So, just like Josh, I am on the fence because both the science and the other half, so if you think about the science, the mental health, Josh is correct. During the time there wasn't much notifications of mental health, medicines for that. And I did also see something about the medicine. I just didn't take note of it at the time. But again, medicine could have the side effects that could believe into it. And then also the partial, I guess you say, fanaticalism that she had towards it, where she like how like Joe was saying, like, okay, yeah, she would sit down, pray, and all that, but like to the points where her knees were breaking. That's also like can show some kind of fanaticism.
That is some serious diehard fanaticism where you're going to dedicate yourself that much to something.
Well,
that's gotta play into it.
The first sign I've ever seen anything like this, when we had the mass for my parents, some girl, I guess she went to school with one of you guys.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
She was videotaping everything and whatever, but she was all dressed in black, and literally it looked like she lived there. To me, you ever seen the movie Lady in Black?
Yeah.
Well, it looked like her.
Oh,
but
damn.
I'm standing now. You got a picture of this. We're in the first or second row, and they were giving out communion. And most people go up to there and they put their hands out, they drop it in, or they put it in their mouth, whatever. She stood. Now I'm standing there, and she got on her knees and put her head down, put her head back like this or whatever, and she put her hands out. I'm like, what the flying fuck are you doing? I thought she was dropping down to give the. Never mind. Anyway.
Well, at that point, that's when Uncle B turned around and said, "I need her number." I'm like, "B, she's like 3/4 of your age."
I just that to me is where the fanaticism. Good word. It's better than nitwitnism, by the way. I think that was
Well,
each their own.
Yeah, your word is more funny.
We have like 4 different generations in this booth at the moment, so yeah. Anyway, Cito, you want to add more or?
Yeah. So going back to it, the thing that's really saying that I do believe more that it's a yes is because of the fact that she died of malnutrition, but 11 months. Now, if you know, like, you know, the common things about malnutrition, you can go, around 3 weeks without eating until you completely pass out, a week without eating and drinking. So a lot of that stuff just doesn't add up to me. Because how much was it, like 67? 67 exorcisms. And also stating that these exorcisms, like maybe once a day, or like can be up to twice
Twice a week.
These took 4 hours, could last up to 4 hours, or even maybe more. So just the fact of malnutrition is really just getting me on the fence, because if it took 11 months to die of the malnutrition, it's really just putting me off. Plus, you know, the other things like Joe was saying with the demons, evil spirits, or I don't want to get anything incorrect, but trying to deceive. I do believe that stuff could have a big play of it, so I'm on the fence with a more lean to yes.
All right, Dad.
I got, congratulations, because he just, everything I was going to say, he said. It's the exact same thing, because basically there's no complete definitive answer here, but there's signs on both sides that you can go both ways. But it's leaning more towards possession than it would be mental illness. I think the mental illness had a play in it, but I also think that somewhere along the line there was something demonic about this, and that's a good point about the 11 months, because starvation takes weeks, not months. So was this woman being kept alive demonically, or was it being, you know what I mean? It's something not right there. So yeah, I do believe, I'm on the fence, but I'm leaning towards the side of the fence where she was possessed.
I agree. Also, I'm going to lean towards more of that she was, because, of all the same reasons you guys think. Also, like there's so many factors, and again, I'm with Josh too. Like, again, I have the beliefs, and I'm not an atheist or agnostic, but I if you add the audio to it, those sounds, especially at the time, you cannot produce, in how audio,
if they're
you
authentic,
can't produce those.
Yeah, you can't make shit like that.
And like, even a woman her age at that point, 22, and
her voice would be a lot louder.
Yeah, she's not producing those sounds naturally. She is definitely not producing those sounds naturally. And I think that gives credit to any type of possession, that if you hear the audio tapes, again, now if you hear stuff now, it's a little different, because I know now we can produce sounds, we can produce, over production type audio.
Yeah.
And it's very hard now to get something very natural.
Oh, yeah.
very, very hard to actually sit there and pick out, oh, yeah, that's natural sound, that's this, that. Especially when you're talking about something as exorcisms or, demonic possessions. Because, again, I'm going to say a good 70% of people naturally are going to sit there and say, it's they're not going to sit there and think like, holy shit, this can happen.
Mm-hmm.
You have those people who do, and then you have and then in that 20% of people who do believe that happens, you have the ultra religious nuts who think that, if you pray every day, if you go to church every Sunday, you do this, you do that, everything will be fine. And if you do one little thing bad, that's why you're going to hell, and that's why you're gonna do this. So there's a finite group of people who sit there and consciously say, okay, we have to take this and rip it apart and be like, okay, these are facts by science, and these are things we cannot explain. And I think that goes under it when it's called the supernatural for a reason, because it's beyond our natural being, our natural plane. So you have to sit there and take that supernatural aspect and go, what are we talking about this? And again, that it goes hand in hand with religion, because that's at least what I believe. I think where science ends, I think religion and faith begins.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I really want to cut this short, but if everyone enjoyed tonight's episode about Emily Rose, tune in next week. That's all I'm going to tell you, because take everything that you've seen in The Exorcist and throw it out, because the real story of The Exorcist is coming home, and we're gonna take it apart piece by piece, and you are going to be astonished at the differences between the movie and the real life. But more importantly, you're going to be astonished when the story really gets out of the person who was really possessed.
I do have at least one more question for everybody.
Jeez.
And it could be short.
Good, because I got to move. Let's go.
But do you believe, and does it take away from the story itself about the spirits of Hitler and Judas?
No, I do not.
Do you believe that is true, or do you believe it doesn't take away the authenticity?
True as far as what? Did they possess her, or did she say it?
No, did they possess her?
No, not a chance. Not a chance.
No.
Yeah, me neither. Even if I was to sit there and flip my brain and become Catholic again, I still can't believe that. I really can't, because it's like you were taught back then that once you die and go to hell because you're a sinner, that's it. That's where you're going for the rest of your fucking life. What does that have to do with anything about possessing people? You won't have that ability. If I was to really sit here and think about that, I'd be like, no, you won't have that ability, because you'll be busy burning in fucking hell, being tortured for your sins. And why the fuck would you sit there and be able to possess somebody? That would have to be nothing but lies by the demons that were possessing her, or that was her delusional telling what she thought she heard.
Right. And you got to get past this. One thing you said tonight is so untrue. You got to get past this. Well, the devil, Satan was proud. Satan's not proud. Satan's not looking to score points. Satan's not looking to put his arm around somebody when they get to hell and go, oh, you're a bad motherfucker. And he means that in the most notorious way. That doesn't happen. You are dealing with a power that has the wisdom and the knowledge of the ages and the power of the ages. Don't forget, Satan was an archangel.
Hey, Josh. If you look at both of them from this side, do they look like one of those CIA, or they're blacked out talking about
Are
shit?
you guys trying to interview us and make us confess to things we didn't do?
They're on to us, Nelson.
Because I don't see your faces.
Call headquarters.
Okay.
Call headquarters. We've been had
at all.
I think someone turned off the laptop or something, because your faces went completely dark.
Yeah.
I turned off the
It's we have to darken your voices
and
or
I'm
anything like
fucking
that.
paranoid. Are you serious? All right, end this shit. I gotta get out of here. Let's go.
All right. So as you guys know, next week we're going to be talking about the true story of The Exorcist, and as usual, we're going to be here. I think Mr. West is going to be back with us next week, and go to our website, talk, get our merch. We have new merch coming out. We have new hats coming out.
You're right. We have all that stuff coming out, but
we have
Mugs.
Well, we have more mugs than you know. We have mugs all shapes and sizes. We have religious mugs. We have mugs of this. We have mugs of that. You name it, we'll put out a mug. In fact, our other business is called Mugs on Mugs. So let's get moving.
Buy mugs to save Dad's ass. That's all I'm going to say.
Please, because the mugs ain't getting sold. I'm fucked.
Watch, he's
I'll be
pissed off.
sleeping in the boxes the mugs came in.
He's going to be pissed off. I'm going to say this. It's Green Hour Media presents Mugs on Mugs.
And let's not forget, we now literally have a fifth member, Nelson, of Is This Real? Congratulations and welcome to the program. You are a brother in arms.
Thank you. I really truly appreciate it. This was fun tonight.
We'll get you in a couple more episodes. I know.
Oh wait, you think this is zany?
Yeah. So just go, Dad's gonna be doing a couple shows if you're in the Jersey area. North Jersey area particularly, he has Halloween mugs. Halloween's coming. You're gonna have Thanksgiving mugs, guaranteed fucking teed. I know you have Christmas mugs.
We have turkeys. We have goblins. We have everything.
Goblins for Thanksgiving.
Well, you know what? Anyway,
if you're me, that's perfect.
Anywho, just like I said, the winter months are coming up. Maybe an Is This Real or multimedia sweater. Anywho, we're going to end this episode tonight, guys. So thank you guys for listening. Nelson, thank you for being here, and I hope you come back, buddy. Good night, everybody. Remember,
Good night.
Question everything, guys.
Konnichiwa, bitches. It's Ryu West speaking. If you want to find out more about the Is This Real podcast, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/isthisrealpc or on Twitter at isthisrealpc or on Instagram at isthisrealpodcast, all one word.